Hello and welcome to Live from Hesston and our Gotta Be Gleaner program. It's great to have you with us today, and I'm excited about the great program we have for you. My name is Kevin Forth and I'm the Senior Tactical Marketing Manager for Combines here at AGCO, and I'll be your MC for the day. I'd like to go ahead and get things started with a message from Morgan Stallings, our Director of Marketing for North America.
Hello and welcome to the Gleaner Live from Hesston virtual event. I'm Morgan Stallings, Director of Marketing for Gleaner here in North America. We're thrilled to have you joining us here today. This virtual platform is a great way for us to connect with you and, more importantly, to highlight what so many of our existing Gleaner customers already understand about the Gleaner brand, that it's the best kept secret in farming. Gleaner has a strong history of expertise in harvesting. Our lightweight, transverse design was born out of years of experience, and through that experience and specialization, we've developed a combine with our S9 series that can and will compete against any other competitive offering in the market and demonstrate exceptional efficiency, clean grain quality, and lower compaction. This virtual event is a great way not only for you to learn about how Gleaner can add value to your operation, but also how to really optimize your machine throughout the year and throughout harvest to ensure you can get the most out of your machine. The team has a lot more in store for you here today, so I encourage you to enjoy our Live from Hesston virtual event. And if you haven't already, please visit our website at www.gleanercombines.com to learn more about all the latest offerings from Gleaner or to find your nearest Gleaner dealer. When it comes to harvesting, it's gotta be Gleaner.
Thanks, Morgan. As you can see, all of us here at AGCO are glad to have you here, and we are looking forward to a great day of information about the Gleaner Combine. Okay, now I'd like to get things started with our program, and leading us off is the Strategic Marketing Manager for Gleaner, Robert Ross. Robert has been with AGCO for many years, and he has extensive knowledge of the Gleaner product. He's going to take us through some updates and performance data regarding the Gleaner. Robert.
All right, thank you, Kevin, and welcome to Hesston, and thanks for joining us today. I want to take this time and discuss a few items with you about the Gleaner Combine. We're going to go over some updates, we're going to go over some performance kits, and recent activities that we've been doing, and discuss why Gleaner is the combine of choice for a lot of growers. So let's get started with those model year 22 updates. First off, we'll talk about the cleaning fan cutoff area. We've made an update there to eliminate excessive noise in the operator's cab. So the front edge has been changed to eliminate a blade pass frequency that was causing a high-pitched noise in some machines, but not all. The next item is the clean grain elevator. So we made improvements there as well. The chute and the funnel located on the return elevator head cover have been updated to prevent grain leaks. The funnel has been lengthened and the chute has been fully enclosed. Additional sealing has been placed both at the funnel and at the clean grain elevator head door. This will impact those small grains such as canola, which can always find places to run out even the smallest little cracks. Also, we've made some new improvements and added a new radio option. Both of these options have been updated to the latest display, which gives you the ability to charge iPads or whatever through the USB port and remove some of that old technology such as CD players. Both guidance receiver options have been updated also to the latest models. The Novatel receiver now is the Smart 7, and the Trimble guidance receiver is now the AG482. RTK is also available on your Gleaner combines as well right now. So those are pretty much the model year 22 updates and improvements. There's more improvements being worked on currently with our engineering team right here in Hesston. So let's talk about kits. We have a few kits that will add the performance to your Gleaner combine. The slow speed elevator kit. This is to slow down the clean grain elevator when you're harvesting lower yielding crops. Speed obviously causes more wear on the chains and sprockets, along with less grain damage by being able to slow this down. Over the years, we've increased the performance of our elevators for these high yielding crops and we've sped things up, but it's not needed for all crops. The next kit I would like to talk about is our chaffer extensions. So these are additional hillside performance kits that you can put on to help keep that grain in its lane while you're harvesting on those slopes. The Cascade Pan Blank kit for those small grain applications. We added a perforated cascade pan for high yielding crops. It increased our shoe capacity. But for small grain, you may not need that, and this blank will actually maybe help you clean up your bin sample in some conditions. The perforated elevator boots, these have been around a long time. This helps remove dirt out of the grain while harvesting close to the ground, lentils, peas, beans, those types of crops. And then we have a light seed kit. This is so when you're harvesting grass seeds where low volume air is needed to keep that seed in the combine and not be blowing it out. And then the last kit, don't forget that we have a hitch extension if you would like to pull your header trailers around behind your combine. Those are some of the kits available for your Gleaner combine. If you have questions on these kits, our product specialist can be a great resource for your needs. So let's talk about some of the activities we've been doing lately. We consistently hear from our customers about the low fuel usage, great grain quality, and low cost of ownership of their Gleaner combines. So our team decided we needed to start collecting some additional information from our customers to really understand the impact of all these items in a complete season. We asked several customers from different regions across the US to help us with this project, and we collected a lot of data. And we also collected some from competitive machines as well, so we could compare. Our plan is to continue to do this and add more items to what we collect. This helps us understand how the machines are being used and ensure we are delivering the best product to fit the needs of our customers and attract new customers as well. So let's talk about a few of the results that we found. We learned a lot of our customers like to harvest at an average speed of 4.5 miles an hour, regardless if they had an 8-row or a 12-row head on the combine. And an S98 with a 12-row compared to an S97 with an 8-row actually uses 11% more fuel per hour, but uses 22% less fuel per acre, while harvesting 30% more acres per hour. Now, we've always known that larger heads are more efficient. Now we have some actual data that shows the advantage. Now let's look at the data and understand how this impacts you as a customer and look at this in a little different way. So I pulled some data from 2 machines in 2 totally different areas of the country. And keep in mind, this is growers setting and operating their machines in their conditions. The crop for the Gleaner was an average yield of 208 at about 19% moisture on the average. And the competitive machine had an average yield of 188 at about 15% moisture. So at an average speed of 4.5 miles an hour that the 2 machines traveled, the Gleaner used an average of 13.8 gallons per hour, while the competitor used an average of 16.5 gallons per hour. That is a 17% less fuel with the Gleaner than our competitive machine. Now let's look at how many bushels per gallon was harvested, as we're always interested in the cost per bushel. And here we see 36% more bushels harvested per gallon of fuel with the Gleaner while achieving the same harvesting rates. So why not save some expense while harvesting your crop? This is just one area where the Gleaner outperforms the competition. As we talk to growers, we always discuss things like commodity prices, which are fun to talk about right now, but weren't a year ago. The weather, it's wet, it's dry, high input cost, all things that are impossible for you, the customer, to control, but affect your operation in a big way. Sometimes we overlook what we can control. Things like matching the correct size combine to our operation to make it the most productive. Bigger isn't always the answer to completing harvest faster or the most profitable way. Getting into the field quicker when dealing with wet conditions to get the crop out in sooner, spending less money per acre to complete your harvest. These are things that you can control. So over the years, we at Gleaner have always talked about some key items that set our machine apart from the competition. You've heard us talk about simplicity, lightweight, grain quality, fuel efficiency, all made up by the natural flow system, right? That's where it all starts. Now let's talk about each one of these a minute to fully understand how this affects your bottom line, because we talk about these, but let's see where the advantage truly lies. So the simplicity. This means it was designed to be easy to work on with fewer belts, gearboxes. The straight-through drives are part of the design to minimize additional parts, keeping the machine well-balanced and efficient. And what does that mean for you? Less annual maintenance, fewer items to wear out, and it all adds up to a cost saving, increasing your margins. Lightweight, we've talked about this for years. We start with an all-welded mainframe. That's the foundation. And then the combine was designed so that every piece of steel has an important part to the structure of the combine, and it helps support the next part of the machine. It was designed to be lightweight. Why? Because harvest always brings rain at some point. And we need to be able to get back into the field as soon as possible to get that crop in. Plus, we all know what compaction does. Based on a lot of university studies, the loss in soil health due to compaction reduces soil drainage, aeration, yields, root growth. The list goes on, but what does that cause you? Lost revenue in lower yields. A big factor. Plus, the lighter combine takes less fuel to power through the field. And we saw that in our data collection work that we did earlier. This equals a lower cost of harvesting and improved margins for you, the grower. So grain quality. The natural flow design keeps the crop flowing evenly without changing the direction and controlling the flow of material from the time it enters the feeder house until it discharges out the back of the combine. 360 degrees of separation. The natural flow system is gentle on the crop, and the two-stage cleaning system will deliver a quality bin sample. But what does that mean? No dockage at the elevator. And for some growers, it means being paid a premium for their crop without sacrificing capacity, all adding up, again, to increased margins for you, the grower. And of course, fuel efficiency. All the items that we have discussed thus far have a huge impact in the fuel efficiency of a Gleaner combine. Tied with AGCO-powered engines, the machine consistently will harvest crops using less than a gallon per acre all day, every day. And that equals less cost of operation. So as discussed, some things are out of our control, and some things we can control. There are just a few that we can control, and the Gleaner delivers a low cost of operation, low cost of ownership by design. No, this combine is not a 6,000 bushel an hour machine, but we do know on the average farm it will harvest 3,500 to 4,000 bushel an hour for the entire season, not just for an hour, and do it with less cost than our competitors. It's gotta be Gleaner. Thank you so much for your business, and thank you for joining today, and we've got a lot more information coming your way. Okay, back to you, Kevin.
Thanks, Robert. I'm not sure everyone realized the amount of operating costs they could save by running a Gleaner. All right, next on our agenda today is an in-depth session involving inspection points and getting your machine set up and ready for the season, along with some tips and tricks for getting the most out of your combine. Taking us through will be Aaron Beyer, who is our marketing product specialist for Gleaner, and Robert Ross.
Hi, my name's Aaron Beyer. Robert and I are going to explain how the Gleaner handles and processes the crop and why it's better than the competition.
So let's start at the feeder house, Aaron.
Great. Now the Gleaner combine uses two feeders, a front and rear feeder. The rear feed chain runs 10% faster than the front. This is to help avoid any issues between the transition between the two feed chains. The feeder house was updated for S9 machines. First off, the area below the feeder chain that's introducing the crop into the processor was increased. This helps in heavy crop conditions and canola. In addition, the feeder house was lengthened, and that's to help with the visibility of the header.
Okay, so let's talk, Aaron, a little bit about some of the things that I hear at the farm shows all the time, and that is the width of this feeder house. At 39 inches, people are saying, how in the world can you get so much crop through there? Well, it's the design of the Gleaner that makes this possible. So we start at 39 inches at the front. That also happens to be the width of our concave and where it enters the processor. So once this crop enters the front of the combine, we are controlling that mat of material across the concaves through the natural flow process and out the back, always keeping the flow of material at an even pace and at the same width the whole distance. Where the competition has wider feeder houses, at some point there's a transition point where we have to get it into the processor, and that gives you an opportunity for feeding issues, changing directions of the crop, maybe crop damage, a lot of different things. This is what really sets the natural flow system of the Gleaner combine apart, is how we handle the crop from the start to the finish.
The header drive is available in two different configurations: the standard fixed speed header drive or the optional variable speed header drive. A hose located at the single point connection is switched when you're installing a corn head. Both header drive options include a 2-speed feeder drive that must be switched when switching between crops. You'll want to have it in high speed for small grains and the low speed for corn.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. And we've talked about the feeder house. Now let's talk about the processor a little bit. And I talked about the 39-inch feeder house on the Gleaner. Now we're going to get into, here's our concave area that is also 39 inches. So as that crop comes into the processor, we're going to go across the concaves. Then we're going to start that 360 separation as that crop material moves through the processor. We have helical bars in here to help the flow of that material, keep everything moving across the processor, and then out the discharge over here. Now, a lot of people talk about the width of this discharge as well, as how do you get a 40-foot head and all that material coming out this discharge? Well, it's the way we feed the material out of the processor that makes the difference. So think about just taking a slice at a time off of that rotor as it's spinning the crop out of there, versus the competition where you got everything coming out of the back of that rotor. And that's how we're able to get that much material through this discharge portion. Aaron, maybe step over here and walk us through a few more details of the processor, if you will.
So the 30-inch rotor was introduced in 2011 with the S7 series of combines. We still use that same rotor in the S9s today. Now that rotor consists of 6 rows of threshing elements equally spaced around the rotor. Each one of those consists of long and short threshing elements. The 3-bolt variety are in the threshing section, and the 4-bolt variety are in the separator section. Now the standard configuration of that is 3/4 inch spacing on all of the threshing element ribs. Those are equally, again, all the way around, and in amongst those we have some of those that have reverse pattern on it to increase the amount of scrub as the material is moving through the processor, and increases that threshing action.
So Aaron, so tell me, I see we got a narrow bar here. What's
Right.
this bar actually used for?
So what this bar is, this is our 1/2-inch spacing. This is for guys that have some tough threshing conditions, if you got a lot of white caps or just conditions that you need a little bit of extra threshing. The other person that's going to use that is the guy that has a stripper head installed. They're going to want to use these in addition to possibly some close-ups that install on the bottom side of the concave here. Now speaking of our concave, we can talk a little bit about it. Our concaves consist of 4 sections and a kind of removable sections in a pivoting frame here. The really positive about this is that we have one concave for all different crop varieties. You don't have to worry about when you're switching between crops or different conditions, you don't have to worry about switching these concaves out.
So what you're telling me, like a lot of our competitors, right, are having to switch concaves, and here we just go crop to crop.
Absolutely, you can use the same concave for all different crop types. Just imagine the amount of time you're going to save having not have to switch these concaves out.
Right. We talked earlier about the efficiency of the Gleaner combine and how we can get so much done. And this is just another time saving to make us more efficient.
Absolutely. So another thing that we really want to talk about here is making sure that this is set up correctly. Now, the one thing that's important about is making sure that these concaves are level. And that's a really simple process. Again, we've removed the center two concaves already for clarity. And it's also a good kind of a standard procedure when you're leveling these concaves. Now, when I'm talking about leveling, I'm making sure that on the left-hand side and the right-hand side, making sure we have the same amount of threshing across the whole of the concave section. Because if you're too tight on one side and too loose on the other, you could be over-threshing on one side and not threshing on the other. So the way you do that is you want to make sure you have an 1/8 inch with this concave all the way closed. You want to have a minimum clearance of an eighth of an inch at the second concave crossbar here. We got them painted here just for clarity as well. So that's another important thing that we need to make sure of.
All right, so a lot of stuff going on in the
Right.
processor right now. So what else can you tell me about this? What else is going to happen here?
So another thing that's important, another addition that we've made to our rotor is the addition of these flights here. Now, one of the things we talked a little bit earlier about our threshing elements, and the two things that those are doing is threshing the crop and also conveying that material through the processor as well. Well, when we increased the size of the threshing element, we saw there was a chance or a possibility that when we're feeding that crop mat in, that there's a chance that it's going to lay over on top of itself. So to help alleviate that, that's creating two conditions that these flights that we've installed on the rotor help answer that question. So the two reasons that we want to make sure that is that when we feed that on top of itself, it increases the thickness of that crop mat, which creates an issue where we're now more horsepower to drive that through. The other issue is that it traps seeds in that crop mat that could cause some increased rotor loss. So what these flights do is move that crop mat over just slightly to help keep that crop mat from laying over and on top of
Which is
itself.
so important in the overall feeding of any combine, is to keep that material moving evenly so that you can thresh it and clean it. The whole system just works so much better. The other item here, as you talked about the sweeps, but the cylinder bars are an important part of that conveyance as well. So it's always important to keep your cylinder bars in really good shape, because that can hindrance the performance, not only threshing, but keeping the material moving through the combine.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we've got the flights that help move that through. We also have the helical veins that you alluded to earlier that help convey that, kind of guide that crop around the processor as well. One of those helical veins that plays a really important part is this helical vein that's right before the chopper, right before the discharge chamber on the processor. Now that vertical helical is doing a very important part in that it's forcing that material to go around the processor one more time before it goes out the chopper. A couple important points to make there. It's one, making sure that we're trying to decrease that rotor loss to as low as possible. And the other thing it's doing is feeding our chopper correctly. Because if we didn't have that vertical helical vein there, that allows kind of a shortcut for that crop to exit the processor. That's going to do two things. It's going to wear out the side of the separator cage, and it's also going to wear out the inside knives on our chopper. So we put that vertical helical in to kick that material around one more time and feed that chopper correctly. Guys with earlier machines can install that vertical helical and see that same benefit as well.
All right. This is an impressive system, Aaron.
Oh, it's great. It's great. Efficient and simple, and just a great overall process.
So what else does this processor do after we've done all that in the rotor? What's next?
Let's take a look. It's right here, right below us on our separator cage.
Okay. So tell me what's going on there.
So
I see augers and...
We've got two distribution augers with opposed flighting that bring the material from the separator section over and from the threshing section as well. And that drops that material down to our accelerator rolls. Our accelerator rolls push that crop mat, or that material that's falling off of our processor, through that first stream of air. Now, the one thing you'll notice is that on some of the orange, you'll see that there's an orange paint on these lugs. Now, there is also the soft or black lug that's still available. But those guys with earlier machines that want to increase the life of their accelerator roll lugs can install these orange lugs, which have a little harder durometer rubber on them to increase the life of those accelerator rolls.
So all with this going on, and we talk about our two-stage cleaning in the Gleaner combine, I talked about it earlier. This is how we're able to achieve that, by pushing that crop down, getting that blast of air as it comes off of the accelerator rolls, and also gives us some really good hillside performance as well.
Absolutely. The guys that really work the machine, like in Idaho, where they're harvesting on the sides of hills, we don't rely on gravity to propel that grain through to the shoe. That's why guys, like I said, on the sides of hills in Idaho or anywhere that has any kind of incline, we don't have the need or really the want to have any kind of expensive or complicated leveling system because we use our accelerator rolls to evenly load that shoe.
Awesome. So when you look at the overall design of this processor, the cleaning system, the transverse design, which is one of a kind, right? And it's just set up to not only be a great processor, but also a cleaning system all in one, just like if you were cleaning your seeds through a regular cleaning process. That's what this machine is doing while it's working through the field. So anything else you can tell us about it, Aaron?
No, I think we're good. Let's move on to the cleaning system, to the cleaning fan, and talk a little bit more about it.
All right, great.
Now the cleaning fan here is a 14-inch scroll-type cleaning fan that develops two streams of air. The first stream is where a majority of that cleaning action happens. The accelerator rolls throw that material through that first stream of air, and the more dense crop is able to pass through that first stream, while the less dense mog is blown out the back of the machine.
So what changes have we made to this system recently? Because I kind of feel like we've got something extra in there.
We introduced the reactive air control system to where we control the amount of air that's coming out of the fan by adjusting the choke based on the position of the feeder house. So as the feeder house comes up above the cutoff line, we actually decrease the volume to be able to decrease the amount of airflow to save that seed that's coming across the shoe and decrease the shoe loss. This happens at each end of the headlands and saving that seed to keep it in the bin and not on the ground.
Okay, so just another feature that we offer on the Gleaner Combine that helps us to that bottom line by keeping all the grain in the tank. So when you look at the whole system here, we've been through the processor, we've talked about the distribution augers, the accelerator rolls, the two-speed cleaning here that I alluded to earlier to get those clean bin samples. These are the types of things that really set this machine apart, and that is the heart of the Gleaner Combine. The transverse rotor, distribution augers, accelerator rolls, two-stage cleaning is all part of that extra that you get with the Gleaner Combine.
We've got a few other things to talk about. We've got the cleaning shoe too. So let's take a look at the back side of the machine and talk a little bit about it as well.
All right, very good. So Aaron, I hear so much out there in the field about residue management and how important that is. And we've talked about a lot of other important things that this machine does. Tell me about the residue management system on the Gleaner.
Well, there's a couple things that we can talk about. First off, we can talk about at the end of the rotor there. We alluded to it a little bit earlier about our chopper, but we actually have two different options. We have an impeller, which is standard on machines, and the optional 24-blade chopper, which is a two-speed chopper that you're able to adjust between different crops. You want it in high speed for small grain and low speed for corn. So once that material comes off of that rotor, off of the chopper or the impeller, it comes down here to our straw spreader. Now, a straw spreader on the S9 machines utilizes a closed loop functionality to where we're maintaining that spreader speed throughout the day, whether the oil's hot or it's cold.
Also, Aaron, I see there's some adjustments on these spreader blades.
Exactly. So what we're going to adjust that is to be able to adjust our spreader width. So if we've got different sizes of headers, or if you need to direct it in one direction or the other, you can adjust the position of those slingers to be able to adjust that spreader width.
All right. So when you look at the residue management coming out of the Gleaner, you have everything off your discharge, which is being spread with the spreader over here, and then all of your chaff and other material
coming off of our shoe comes right into our standards chaff spreader. So all machines are equipped with a hydraulically driven chaff spreader. Right. So the nice thing about it is it's easily swung out to be able to access our cleaning shoe and be able to service it or changing out chaffers or sieves. So let's do that real quick.
Yeah, that's extremely easy, Aaron, and then it gives you good access to get into the cleaning shoe itself.
Absolutely. So on our chaffer and sieve, again, when that material comes through that first stream of air, it's deposited onto the cascade pan, which we have a perforated cascade pan to increase the amount of cleaning surface area that we have on the shoe. Now, I think you alluded to it a little earlier. We have a kit available to be able to block that off in certain small grain conditions.
Yes, absolutely. And in some conditions, that's maybe a kit that you would need.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
Yep.
So as far as the chaffer and sieve, we have different options for chaffer and sieve depending on crop condition or just the cleanliness, how they want to adjust that cleaning shoe to be able to get the maximum cleanliness out of their bin sample.
So just noticing these fins in there, Aaron.
So that's what that's our spreader board that's distributing the material that, remember, we were talking about earlier, that material that's coming through that first stream of air, that's distributing that material that's through that first stream of air, again, across that's the width of that back of the machine to be able to maximum discharge spread to get that nice even flow or that nice even mat for those guys that are looking for no-till or just decomposition of that material.
So there's a lot of air coming out of there.
A ton of air coming out. Again, majority of our cleaning's happening through that first stream of air.
Right, and that's all part of the cleaning system on the Gleaner combine.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more about our unloading auger system and then our grain tank.
So Aaron, we've talked about feeding, we've talked about the processor, we've talked about the cleaning system, residue management on this Gleaner combine, but what about the grain handling system?
Well, we got one of the best in the industry. It's one of the fastest and most efficient, as well as one of the best as far as keeping that clean and great bin sample. So with 4 bushels per second unloading auger rate, we're able to go from full to empty in about 90 seconds. Now, to do that, we incorporate this swivel design here that unlike our competitive machines, doesn't use a lot of power to be able to go through that turret unloading auger that they have. We're able to easily transition that material out to the grain cart. And that's doing 2 things. Again, it's saving that, it's keeping that positive, that great bin sample that we've been working so hard throughout the rest of the process to keep it. If we damage it when it's unloading into the grain cart, it's all for naught. So, and the other thing is because we don't have those right angle turns, we're using a lot less power. Now that's going to save you in the end by using a lot less fuel.
Yeah, so we started the program talking about fuel efficiency, low cost of ownership, maintenance, and those types of things, and the simplicity. And this just continues on with the grain handling system. But I have a question. You said how fast it would unload, but how much are we unloading?
So we've got a 390 bushel grain tank, and that's for our Class 6, Class 7, or Class 8 machine. So there's another great advantage to having a transverse machine, and that's how we carry the weight of that grain tank. Now, as machines are getting bigger and bigger on those axial machines, they're having to carry that weight higher and higher to get it above those axial rotors. The beauty of the transverse machine is that we're able to carry that weight closer to the center of the gravity. Now that's a lot safer and it makes it a lot more comfortable to operate, especially in those hills in Idaho or in Nebraska or Iowa.
Yeah, so as we've gone around the combine today and we've talked about the design, it's like engineering didn't leave out anything to get the full efficiency, make the most out of everything with this design of a combine.
Hey, I really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys sticking around and watching us and walking around the machine so we can tell you how great the machine is. So I'll go ahead and kick it back over to Kevin.
Thanks, guys. Fantastic info on the great features of the Gleaner S9. Now we're going to bring back Aaron, and he's going to run through some common maintenance items so you can protect your investment and make it last as long as possible. Aaron, take it away.
Daily inspections start in the engine compartment. Make a general inspection for any material buildup or leaks around the engine. You also want to inspect around the heat shields to make sure there isn't any material buildup around the heat shields of the engine. The hydraulic reservoir for the hydraulic system is located in the engine compartment. It's important to check the level on that with the feeder house down and the unloading auger swung in. If you check it with the feeder house level up, or feeder house up, or the unloading auger swung out, you're going to see that this is low. And if you overfill this and drop the feeder house or swing the unloading auger in, you're going to have quite the mess in the engine compartment. Also located inside the engine compartment is the hydraulic charge filter. This needs to be changed every 250 hours. Any time you change the hydraulic charge filter, you need to make sure you bleed the air from the system. There's a little bleeder valve right here. So when you change this, you'll want to fill the reservoir until you get just hydraulic oil out of this bleeder screw. If you have a pocket of air that's trapped inside of here and start the combine, there's a really good chance you're going to cavitate the spreader pump and destroy the spreader pump. So make sure that anytime you change this charge filter, you're bleeding the air from the system. Now you'll also want to change the charge filter, the hydraulic oil, and our return filter every 500 hours. While you're in the engine compartment, it's a good idea to open up the processor door and inspect our rotor and separator cage for any kind of material buildup or condition of our rotor components. You want to inspect for any kind of material buildup between the separator cage and the separator door. You'll notice that there's a panel here installed that helps prevent that from occurring. Sometimes rotor speed can cause that accumulation to build up as well. So before you remove this panel, try adjusting your rotor speed, dropping it a little bit to see if that corrects that accumulation. You can also see inside here we can access our chopper knives. So if you need to move these stationary chopper knives, depending on the crop that you've got, you can do that from inside of here. Make sure that when you're closing this processor door that these latches are securely latched. If they're not securely latched and this door is not fully closed, you can fill the engine compartment with material really quick. So make sure you put a hand on these and make sure that those are fully latched. Now the front of our engine is easily accessible from the front and the rear side of the engine, unlike our competition, which you need to take panels off and go through the grain tank to be able to access the engine. So our engine oil dipsticks is located on the front side of the engine, as well as our fuel filters. There's also an additional fuel filter located underneath this step here as well. You'll also want to check for any accumulation of dirt or debris on top of our pre-cleaner. You'll want to open our air cleaner up and check the primary and secondary filter and clean the primary filter or replace the secondary filter as needed. One point to make on hydraulic oil filters is that we only have 2 hydraulic oil filters on the whole hydraulic system. On competitive machines, depending on the configuration, you can have as many as 4 oil filters to change periodically. We're going to continue our inspection on the left-hand side of the machine at the operator cab platform ladder. The unloading auger swivel contains a majority of the grease fittings on the left-hand side of the machine. It's important to go ahead and swivel that unloading auger incrementally as you're greasing those fittings to make sure you've got a good coverage of grease throughout the swing. It's also important to remember to grease the fitting at the end of the unloading auger for the bearing, the unloading auger U-joints, and the cross auger bearing support as well. Cleanouts are included on the swivel here on the outside and on the inside to be able to remove any debris from the bottom of the grain tank. Before you go harvest, it's very important to make sure both of those are installed. Much like the service points, There are only a couple of adjustments that require you to leave the ground to change the tension on drive belts. There are 7 drive belts on the left-hand side of the machine. To speak a little bit more about the drives of the Gleaner combine, the drives are designed to efficiently and smoothly transfer power throughout the machine. You'll notice that there are very few places that we transfer power through gears or hydrostatic drives. Either of these methods introduce drag or hydrostatic efficiency. That inefficiency it translates to fuel at the fuel pump. By not having those gears or those hydrostatic drives on the Gleaner machine, that saves you money during operation. So the other thing to point out is that most of the shafts and the drives are all positioned transverse to the travel of the machine. This helps out in a couple of ways. First off, all of the shafts being transverse means that, and spinning in the same direction, means that the shafts in the machine, the processor runs smoother when it's engaged. It also places most of the bearings to the outside of the machine for easy replacement or repair. You'll also notice that most of the shafts have belts pulling in opposite directions. This is to help extend the life of the bearing by making sure that there's not more load on one side than the other. The remaining service point on the left-hand side is our chopper U-joint, which needs to be lubricated weekly. Let's continue our walk around at the rear of the machine. There are a couple of lubrication fittings located on the left-hand and right-hand side of the rear of the machine that lubricate the pivot of the rear axle. There are many grease fittings located on the rear axle. The location and number will depend on which axle is installed on the machine, the standard heavy-duty rear axle or the optional rear wheel assist axle. Either axle will have to have the fittings lubricated every week. In addition to that, each axle has a connecting rod ball joints and steering cylinder ball joints that need to be lubricated every other week. While you're lubricating these fittings, it's a good idea to remove any debris that might affect the hoses for the hydraulic cylinders or any of the electrical harnesses that run along the rear axle as well. Let's continue our walk around on the right-hand side of the machine. The rotary screen and cooling package are easily accessed and cleaned from the ground. The cooling package includes the radiator, the combo cooler, and the fuel cooler. While the SmartCool fan does a great job of keeping the cooling package clean, it's a good idea to come in here every day and inspect the area for any material or anything that's trapped inside the rotary screen basket. If you're seeing a lot of excessive material build up in here, check the speed on the rotary screen. If it's too slow, the air seal, the little fins that are located on the outside of the basket there, can't develop the air seal that needs to be developed and keep that material out. The specified speed is 180 RPM. Another location or service point that's often missed is the idler arm for our rotary screen drive belt. We need to come in here and lubricate and check that every couple weeks. The clean grain and return elevators are tensioned from the ground. Make sure that you can move the link laterally, but you can't pull the link away from the bottom of the sprocket. Each elevator also includes a torque limiter. This is one of those few places that you might have to get off the ground to be able to service those torque limiters. But again, you can use the step located here on the right-hand side. One area that operators try to cut costs is by using aftermarket parts. And the elevator chains are a good example of why you don't want to do that. One, AGCO Genuine parts include the updates to be able to improve on our performance and durability that a lot of aftermarket parts don't include. A dealer I once visited here recently had a great example of this. An operator tried to save some money by purchasing some aftermarket elevator chains. Those elevator chains didn't include the updates to the hardware that secure the paddles to the chain. Predictably, those paddles came off, and now the operator was out the cost of that aftermarket part and the AGCO genuine part that they should have purchased in the first place. Secondly, aftermarket parts are typically cheaper because they shortcut on materials. The materials that we use in the AGCO genuine parts are specified by engineering for the best results in performance. Saving money on these aftermarket parts sounds like a great idea at the time, but does that idea sound as good when the machine is down, when time is valuable, and you've lost that time due to a lesser quality part? So moving on, our rotor drive is located on the right-hand side, and it uses two variable shifts to be able to adjust the speed. The driven shift is lubricated. There's a daily lubrication on that. Now, when you lubricate that, it's important that we adjust the rotor speed to evenly distribute that grease along a torque cam located inside of that driven shift. If we don't evenly distribute that grease, there's a good likely chance that we could bind that torque cam and cause some rotor drive belt slipping. So that variable shift is also attached to our DuraGuard rotor gearbox. We need to check the oil level in it using the elbow located to the rear of the gearbox. The oil level must be at the top, even with the top of that horizontal portion of that elbow. There's also a grease fitting that needs to be done here daily as well for the coupler that goes between the gearbox and the rotor. We'll continue our inspection or our walk around at the front of the machine at the feeder house. Remove the access panels from the feeder house to inspect the condition of the front feeder chain. Make sure the slats are securely attached and aren't cracked or bent. You'll also want to check the tension of the feeder chain as well. Tension springs located on the left hand and the right hand side of the feeder tension that feeder chain. Make sure the springs are compressed to the equal length of this spring gauge. There's also tension springs for the rear feeder. You want to inspect the condition of the rear feeder and make sure those tension springs are adjusted as well. Make sure that you've also emptied out the rock trap daily. You'll want to do that on the right hand side using the lever. Make sure you close it before you harvest as well. As far as lubrication fittings, there's only two daily lubrication fittings, and those are for the pivot blocks of the feeder house. They're located on the left hand and the right hand side of the machine. The torque limiter for the feeder and the lateral tilt are lubricated weekly, and then the couplers for the axle drive line are lubricated once a month. While you're at the front of the machine, you'll also want to check the condition of the drain tubes for the air conditioner. Make sure there's no dirt or material buildup at the end of them, and make sure that the valves are still installed. One of the many benefits of owning and operating a Gleaner combine is the lower cost and ease of maintenance and repair. If you've ever opened the side shield to a Gleaner and compared it to the competition, the most striking observation is the accessibility to major components of the Gleaner. This helps maintaining the machine and gets you in the field faster should an unexpected failure occur. Unexpected repairs are going to happen with any machine. It's how fast you can get back into the field that matters the most. Having a machine that is easier to maintain means less time invested during the day with a wrench and a grease gun, and more time in the field enjoying the harvest experience. This has been a quick walk around of the machine. If you'd like more information, reference the operator manual or visit with your local Gleaner dealer. I'll turn it back over to you, Kevin.
Great information, guys. Appreciate it. Remember, as we're going through the in-depth sessions here, you can type comments and questions in the chat, and we have a team of people here to answer your questions. We want to make sure everyone gets as much information out of this event as possible. So please let us know your questions. Okay, now we have an idea on getting the outside of the machine set and ready to run at its best. Next, let's turn to the cab, where Jared Cook, Engineering Manager, and Jeffrey Smith, Marketing Manager for our Fuse team, are going to lead us through getting the monitor in the cab set up and tell us a bit more about some Gleaner options that are ready, get you ready to run Jared, Jeffrey, it's all you.
Thanks, Kevin. I'm going to take a few moments to tell you about the powerful technology offerings on the Gleaner S9. At the heart of the precision offering is the Titan terminal. This 10.4-inch terminal displays crucial information relating to your combine's performance, such as machine settings, status, yield and moisture, and much more. The Titan terminal also allows the user to perform important calibrations such as header, guidance, and yield calibrations. In addition, the Titan terminal handles all of your guidance and task handling needs. Jared will take you through some of the key terminal functions in a moment, but first let's continue looking at additional technology features of the Gleaner Combine. The Gleaner S9 offers the option between two well-known and highly accurate GPS receivers. The Novatel Smart 7 and Trimble 482 are both excellent options that offer accuracy levels ranging from WAS all the way to centimeter level RTK. You cannot go wrong with either of these choices that will provide location information for guidance corrections, as well as location for your yield maps, helping you identify high or low performing areas in a given field. Up next is the guidance controller, or VDO4. This device acts as the brains behind the guidance operation, taking positioning data and directing the machine how to steer when engaged in auto guidance. The internal modem can be fit with a data plan to provide network RTK corrections and is also used in the TaskDock Pro wireless data transfer feature. TaskDock Pro is AGCO's own wireless data transfer solution. Coupled with AgriLink and an active cellular data plan, the Gleaner S9 is capable of wirelessly transferring task data such as yield and moisture, boundaries, and guidance lines to your favorite farm management information system, or FMIS. Workflows can be created to automatically send this data to your FMIS once a task is booked. Included on all new Gleaner S9s is the AGCO Connectivity Module, or ACM. The ACM is connected to the machine's CAN bus and is able to provide critical machine information via AGCO Connect. This includes location, engine hours, service reminders, fault codes, and more. There are also combine-specific parameters that can be viewed, such as machine headings, header position, yield, etc. Connect is a powerful tool designed to further enhance support for your combine when every minute is critical. With 5 years of service included on new machines, Gleaner ensures you will have visibility of this data when it matters most. Now that we've discussed some of the exciting technologies Gleaner has to offer, let's join Jared in the cab to dive a bit deeper into the Titan terminal.
Hi everyone, my name is Jared Cook. I'm the engineering manager. I'd like to thank you guys for the opportunity to walk you through your Gleaner Combine and some of the key features here in the cab. Starting out today, we're going to focus here on the armrest. Here on my right-hand side is actually a bank of switches for all your main and key functions for your Gleaner Combine. So anything that you need to do to in-field operation, to transitioning from a field to a transport mode can all be controlled from right here from your right hand, very easily and accessible. Up here in the center is your controls for your auto header height and auto tilt control. There's two buttons or two toggle switches for turning your auto header height on or your auto tilt on, along with two rotary dials for controlling reel speed and height. Additionally, we have a bank of switches here. These 4 switches control a variety of functions. 2 of the functions being primarily your thresher engagement and header engagement. We have a park brake switch, and then we also have an RWA switch here that's an option on your Gleaner Combine. Jumping over to the Titan terminal, I'd like to remind everyone some of the key setup things as you guys get ready for harvest this fall. First and foremost, we're going to show you and walk you through on how to import fields. So if you're like me and you're a big planner, you might want to try to set up some fields and boundaries before you start your harvest. Starting out, we're going to go into the admin menu. You'll find this menu by the icon here on the right, 4th button from the top, It's the one that looks kind of like your Titan terminal with a wrench in the middle. We'll press that button twice. Then we'll navigate to the very top button that says USB. Here you'll find your data exchange server. This allows you to import or export data or tasks depending on the time of harvest that you're in. Since we're preparing for harvest, we want to import our Tritera field. You simply select that field, hit the up arrow, and it will copy that onto your terminal. We'll use this field a little bit later when we're setting up our task data. To recenter, we're going to go ahead and hit the home button. That'll bring us back to our default view of the Titan terminal. The next task that we like to do is start a task. To start a task, you'll see the third button on the right is a notepad. We'll select that button and we'll press it twice again. To create a task, we're going to select where it says no task selected. We're going to hit the plus icon and we're going to type in Gleaner Super Series. Upon hitting the green check mark, it's automatically going to add another header for us. This is important for some of the ag control data that we're going to have as it relates to trying to create the most accurate yield data possible. And we'll touch on that just a little bit later. We'll hit the green check mark, and as you'll see, you'll already have two different types of tasks added to your Gleaner Super Series task. Next, we want to add your field. So we'll go here. We'll see one of the categories is field. We'll select that. And there's our field, Tritera, that we created earlier and imported earlier. It'll pop up an info box that'll ask you, do you want to use this field Tritera for your guidance system? Yes, we do. Now we have our initial task set up. Next, let's navigate into our task settings page to ensure that we have the correct triggers for automatically starting and stopping tasks. By default, here on the bottom of this page, you're going to see default automatic task handling. These should automatically be set to activated and automatically, along with automatic pause and start task. This is important so that when you enter or leave a field, your task data will automatically start and stop so you can keep your fields clear and your data as accurate as possible. One other thing to check while we're in this menu is your counters. Your Gleaner Super Series has a number of different counters on board. These counters helps reflect what is shown in your harvest data page down here in the bottom left. It's really important to make sure that when you start your harvest, if you want to see data down there, that you have the right counter or the right field selected. Right now by default we have the task controller on, and that info plus is active. That's active indicated by this blue toggle switch here towards the bottom right. If that is off, or you have another counter on, for example, let's turn the counter 1 info plus on. That means that this counter 1 is now shown in your bottom left. If your top counter switch is off, we're going to go ahead and turn that on, so you're now using both your counter 1 and your task data to record. One important thing to remember is your counter data does not store your task data. Your task controller data and your counter data is separate. So to really record your task controller data, you do this by the top switch up here on the top right. You toggle that on, and you'll see now here on this quadrant 1 that there is another notepad that turned green. If that's green, that means you're actively recording data. If you toggle it off, you'll see that it grays out and it's more of a white icon. That means that your task is not active. That's the final thing that we're going to show you today on your Titan terminal. For more information or to understand more capabilities that it has to offer, please reach out to your dealer. We're going to hand it back over to Kevin to continue this discussion about your Gleaner Combine.
Thanks, Jared. Now that we have a refresher on the monitor and getting it set up for the season, and also some interesting information about our data products from our Fuse team, Now we have to make sure to get the right headers in order to feed the combine and get the max performance out of it. We're going to go outside now and take a look at some features of the headers with Mark Brungart, our marketing specialist, and David Holt, chief engineer for headers here at Hesston. And also remember, as we're going through the in-depth sessions here, you can type comments and questions in the chat. And we have a team of people here to answer your questions. If you have any questions on any of these sessions, please go ahead and enter them in the chat. We'll get them answered for you. Mark, David, take it away.
Thanks, Kevin. Today we're going to take a look at some key features of the 9300 Dynaflex header as well as the 3300 series corn head. So let's start with the 9300 header, which is designed to provide a smooth, even crop flow into your Gleaner combine. The 9300 Dynaflex header is available in widths from 25 feet all the way up to 40 feet. And the structure is designed with the upper and lower tubes, which gives us increased durability. It has a single point hookup for easy attachment and detachment of the header from the combine. The dividers on the header are a narrow profile which reduces the footprint and helps keep the header from plowing or pushing into the field. The lightweight design of the dividers and end shields decreases the weight of the skids to also help prevent us from plowing. There are optional stainless steel skids available as well as a low skid option. And to assist with guiding the crop into the header and prevent knocking the standing crop down, we also have available longer divider rods. We also have several different divider rod options for different field conditions. The header is standard with a fixed pitch for your Gleaner combine, but it is available with a hydraulic pitch as well, which allows you to adjust the cutter bar angle as needed for different field conditions. Now let's take it over to David, and he's going to talk more about the cutter bar.
The cutter bar gets its flexibility from the hydraulically dampened tilt arms. These tilt arms are located every 30 inches across the length of the header. This gives us a flexibility range of 8 inches, giving you the ability to cut close to the ground even in rolling ground conditions. The flotation is assisted by a hydraulic accumulator on each side to provide constant ground pressure while flexing. The pressure is adjustable from the cab, allowing you to set the ground pressure for varying field conditions or to pressurize it completely for a rigid cutter bar. Underneath the cutter bar, we see the UHMW covered skids that slide smoothly across the ground. On each end of the header, we have optional stainless steel skids that give us better wear life compared to the plastic skids. For the sickle, we have two options available. On this header, we have the Schumacher cutting system, or you can choose the AGCO cutting system. All sizes of the Dynaflex headers have dual sickle drives driven from each end of the header with a dampened PTO shaft and a heavy-duty flywheel, which reduces the vibration and increases the longevity on the sickle and the structure. The independent tilt arms, the skids, and the sickle together will give you superior ground following and cutoff performance for all of your harvest conditions. Mark, let's talk about some of the features on the drapers and the center feeding.
Thanks, David. In order to get the crop into the combine, the drapers provide a simplistic design that requires less maintenance and promotes less downtime. The side draper canvases are 41 inches wide and move at 502 feet per minute in order to keep the crop away from the cutter bar and flowing into the combine. Coming soon, we will have an optional variable speed draper drive to allow adjustment of the draper speed to optimize crop flow and into the center draper and ultimately into the combine. To provide consistent tracking and alignment, a V-guide is designed into the header. And there's a stainless steel belt guard on the front providing long wear life and a smooth transition from the cutter bar to the drapers. The inner belt roller has a scraper installed to prevent material buildup. And the tension for the belt is obtained through a spring-loaded tension system, and it has an extended adjustment range as well as an indicator to show the tightness of the belt and match the tension of both the right side and the left side belts. There is an onboard tensioning tool when adjustment is needed. As a starting point, we should adjust the tension in the midpoint of the indicator. The center draper is 48.5 inches wide and a canvas that moves at 573 feet per minute. The auger has a 21-inch diameter and is 46.3 inches long and rotates at 200 RPM. In crop conditions where wrapping may occur, there is a filler kit available for the auger flighting. Also available is an optional retractable finger feed drum with an adjustable finger timing. This is recommended for high yield crops such as canola and other crops where you may have a high material other than grain. There is a stainless steel auger pan which increases the life of the pan in this high crop flow area. Clutch protection is incorporated into the drive system for the center draper. Should an obstruction occur, it will protect it from any damage. Now let's go back to David and talk more about the reel.
The reel on the Dynaflex is a robust design with a large center tube and heavy-duty tine tubes. The plastic tines are designed to hold up in tough conditions. The tine pitch can be adjusted from the right end of the header of the reel, which makes the reel more or less aggressive. The reel is hydraulically driven, allowing the speed to be adjusted from the cab to optimize crop flow. The fore-aft position of the reel is controlled with electric actuators, which can be adjusted from the cab, again to optimize crop flow or move forward to pick up down crop. We've already talked about some of the options available, but there are a few more we should cover. First, you have the option to add optional stabilizer wheels for the 35 and 40-foot models. Stabilizer wheels will dramatically improve the header height performance in both rigid and in flex mode. The stabilizer wheels are a torsion axle design with no springs or shocks to wear out. They're adjustable with two field positions, an upper position when cutting on the ground and a lower position when cutting on the ground. In addition to the field positions, there are two transport positions, one for transporting with the tires installed, and the second one with the arm folded up close to the back of the header and the tire removed to reduce transport and storage width. Another option is the transport kit. The foldable design connects directly to the bottom of the frame. It folds out of the way when harvesting and then folds down quickly into the transport and storage position. We recently replaced the tires with high flotation tires and have made several durability improvements to the frame. The header comes standard with cutter bar sensors for flex mode. In rigid mode, you can choose between two drag rod options. Our base drag rod has two steel drag rods, one located on each end of the header. The headside option comes with 4 drag rods mounted directly below the cutter bar for better ground following performance. Available this year is an optional top auger, which will improve feeding in canola or any high volume crop such as oats or barley. For harvesting canola, you can choose between 2 end dividers. We have a wing style divider, or you can choose electrically powered side knives. We also have an optional sealing package to seal around the center deck to prevent crop loss under the drapers. Mark, let's talk about how we hold up against our competition.
During the 2020 soybean harvest, we did some benchmark testing of the Dynaflex 9340 against a MacDon FD 140. The test was performed in Illinois. Both headers were powered by identical combines, and both headers were run in the same field on the same day and side by side. In order to calculate the header loss of both headers, the loss sample was taken directly behind the header before any combine losses could be spread over the test area. At varying speed, it was found the Dynaflex averaged 0.3 bushel an acre loss, while the MacDon averaged 0.56 bushel an acre loss. If you associate this loss into dollars, that would equate to about $3.75 per acre more than the 9340 Dynaflex. In this test, the Dynaflex can provide up to 65% less harvest loss, while providing an average of 47% savings per acre on grain loss. While both the Dynaflex and the MacDon did a good job of harvesting the soybeans, the results of the study are clear. The Dynaflex header had an average of 47% less loss than the MacDon, and the loss was fairly consistent regardless of speed. In addition, over the course of 1,000 acres, the grain savings can save the customer over $2,800 in harvest loss. This was a look at the 9300 draper head for your Gleaner combine, a header that provides smooth, consistent feeding and reliable operation. Now, let's take a look at the 3300 command corn head. Now we're going to take some time and review the 3300 series corn head. The corn head is available in 30-inch spacings and 8 and 12-row configurations for your Gleaner combine. Just like the draper head, the corn head has a single-point multi-coupler hookup for the hydraulic and electrical connections. The auger is 20 inches in diameter, and the 30-inch pitch of the flighting helps convey that material to the combine. The conveyor hood is standard equipment and helps control crop flow into the feeder house as well. In order to get the crop to the row units, the snouts on the 3300 corn head have a low profile design with an adjustable entry angle to help pick up down and tangled corn. The head has hydraulically controlled fore and aft pitch adjustment of 12 degrees, and that gives you the optimal angle needed for picking up the crop. The pitch is adjustable from the cab and includes an accumulator to help absorb shock loads. The snouts themselves are polyethylene and cove-shaped to promote crop flow into the row units and also helps keep the cobs controlled in that down and tangled corn. The back of the snout is designed to help prevent cob loss, and there is optional ear deflectors available. The snouts have optional skids at the point and also helps keep those snouts from digging into the ground. Now David's going to walk us through the row units themselves. David?
The heart and soul of the corn header is the row units. The row units on the corn header are driven with a self-contained gearbox. The snapping rolls are designed with replaceable knives in a point-to-point configuration. This design aggressively pulls the stalk through the deck plate to strip the ears from the stalk. As an added benefit, the point-to-point design crimps and conditions the stalk to aid in breaking down the residue left in the field. The beveled shape of the deck plate is designed to match the shape of the bottom of the ear, to reduce butt shelling when the ear impacts the deck plate. For 2021, we redesigned the entry section of the deck plate and the front idler support to reduce the gap between the gathering chains and the deck plate. This reduces row plugging. The deck plate gap is electronically adjustable from the cab, and the position can be easily seen with an indicator on the back of the header. Before we leave the row units, let's talk about the optional stock chopper. The chopper is a two-blade design which promotes a better quality of cut. The blades are reversible with a laser-clad hard surfacing which continues to maintain a sharp edge as the blades wear. The chopper is located behind the stock rolls to eliminate ear loss. This allows the stock to be pulled through the deck plate before chopping it. The choppers are individually driven, so each row unit can be disengaged with an individual lever. These design features and the integrated chopper result in lower power requirements to run the header. One other option to mention is the stock stompers. They are available for both chopping and non-chopping corn headers, and the mount is integrated directly behind the row unit. The stompers will help break down the stalks and improve residue management, and this helps prevent tire damage. One last topic to discuss is the technology components available on the corn header. The Command corn header is pre-wired for both Ricart row guidance and Headsight header height drag rods. Both sensors are available from AGCO for field installation. Mark, why don't you wrap us up?
So now we've gone through the highlights of the 3300 series Command corn head. I feel you can see how this corn head can accentuate your Gleaner combine and provide you with efficiency and worry-free operation while picking corn. We would also like to make you aware of other header options for the Gleaner combine. Beginning this year, we're expanding our header offering by partnering with Gleaner and providing a flexible draper header, sunflower heads, as well as corn heads. These headers are being offered in addition to the AGCO headers that we reviewed today. The flexible draper head from Gleaner will be available in 35 and 40-foot widths for the Gleaner and will feature a 3-section rigid or flexible cutter bar. It has hydraulic drive reel with plastic tines and also hydraulic drive side knives. This header can be used in all cereal grains, soybeans, peas, as well as other crops. The corn head is available in 6, 8, and 12 row, which available as well in rigid or a folding corn head. All of the corn heads are 30-inch configurations and also will offer narrower spacing configurations. The row units include a stock chopper as well as an optional reel if needed. Together, AGCO and Gleaner offer the largest header offerings in the industry, allowing our customers more choices with greater flexibility for their operations. Thanks for joining us today and learning more about our header offerings for your Gleaner combine. Back to you, Kevin.
Great, guys. Good reminder for everyone on some of the great features of our headers. And also, it's pretty impressive to see how the Dynaflex outperforms the competition. All right, next on our agenda is Scott Small, AGCO Account Manager, and he's going to take us through a section on the AGCO Support Network and a more in-depth look at Gleaner Care. As we all know, things do happen during harvest, and we want you to be as prepared as possible with the tools we offer to protect your investment. Remember, if you have any questions, go ahead and enter them in the chat, and we'll get you the answers. Okay, Scott.
Thank you, Kevin. Good afternoon. My name is Scott Small, Account Manager in the Oklahoma and Texas region. Thank you for taking the time today to learn more about Gleaner combines and how the Gleaner can help your operation reach its full potential. Today, I want to briefly cover a couple of programs available through your Gleaner dealer, which will help maximize uptime and protect your combine investment. The first program is Gleaner Care, the best combine coverage available on the market today. Gleaner Care includes the following to maximize uptime during your critical harvest window. A 3-year, 1,250-hour warranty through AGCO Protection. This is the most comprehensive extended warranty in the ag industry available today. One of the major points that sets this warranty apart from others is service call travel mileage coverage that starts on day 1. This protects you from unexpected costs during harvest should a breakdown occur. This extended warranty is exclusively available through your Gleaner dealer. 3 years, 1,250 hours of scheduled maintenance is also included in the Gleaner Care package. This covers routine items like filters and lubricants to keep your Gleaner in tip-top shape year-round. There are options to extend this maintenance package beyond 3 years. Contact your dealer to hear more. Gleaner Care dealers are committed to keeping the right parts in stock locally with increased parts stock available during critical harvest seasons. 24/7 parts support is available through your Gleaner dealer to keep you up and running at your maximum potential. The final piece, and arguably the most important, of the Gleaner Care package are 3 annual inspections conducted by factory-trained technicians using an annual inspection form created by Gleaner experts from dealers and AGCO alike. Yearly inspections ensure that your combine is ready to go prior to the season starting, saving you time-consuming repairs during harvest. Gleaner Care is the best way to protect your combine and maximize uptime during short harvest windows. The next program I would like to speak about is AGCO's industry-leading parts warranty. This parts warranty covers all AGCO parts for 12 months and includes labor for the first 6 months if installed by your AGCO dealer. The third program I want to highlight is AGCO Plus Commercial Credit. During harvest, paying for repairs does not need to be a stressful event. AGCO Plus Commercial Credit, available through your Gleaner dealer, offers 90 days, no payments, no interest to get repairs paid for and get you back in the field quickly. During select months of the year, no payments, no interest is increased to 180 days. Using AGCO Plus has its rewards as well through the Smart Rewards program. This program pays you back 2% comeback cash on parts purchases through your Gleaner dealer. The final program offering applies to S9 combines, L2 combines, and anything in between. Your Gleaner dealer offers one of the most important programs, which is pre-season or off-season inspections. All combines, no matter the age, are eligible for PM360 inspections. Parts needed for repairs found during inspections are eligible for up to a 15% discount to help get your Gleaner ready for the next harvest. Thank you for taking the time today to learn more about Gleaner combines and the programs your local Gleaner dealer offers to maximize uptime when it matters most. I'll now pass this back to Kevin, who will wrap things up.
Thanks, Scott. Good stuff there. I know everyone wants to get the most out of their machine and make sure it lasts as long as possible. We can keep that investment protected with Gleaner Care. All right, that was our final section for the day. Hopefully this information will help you run the season with your Gleaner better and more efficiently. I really want to thank all the presenters today, and especially want to thank the customers and dealers out there. Without you, we couldn't bring you the best harvesters on the market. Remember, you can always learn more about Gleaner from your local dealer or by visiting gleanercombines.com. Thanks again, and have a safe harvest in 2021.